series, or live. This morning it was live live. The live live series. Living large.
Living like Larry.
Living like Larry.
Alright, so like I said, we're starting our live series. We'll do this for the next couple of weeks. And we're going to talk about life. The idea here is we're going to talk about what life means, how we're supposed to go about life, what the Bible says about life, living, being alive, all sorts of those good things. Right? And so that is the plan. Like I said, this will last probably 5-6 weeks. And then we're going to talk about some of the topics that you guys wrote down the other day. Move on to that. Maybe someone will let Harrison speak.
Excuse me? About Revelation.
About your Revelation?
No.
You can.
He's not speaking on Revelation. No.
No, that was video.
I know everybody wants to speak on Revelation. Alright. It's interestingly enough, Ken and I watched a documentary last night. Well, not really a documentary, but a movie on the founding of Mickey D's.
Wow.
What?
That was the founder?
Huh?
The movie The Founder?
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Anyway, so this movie on the founding of McDonald's was really interesting. There's a lot of backstory. Kayla got to the end, she didn't want McDonald's. I kind of got to the end and wanted some. So I don't know. You take that for whatever that's worth. But McDonald's was started by 2 men.
Oh, wow.
And the last name was, you guessed it, McDonald.
Hammer.
Right? Do you see it? On the way?
15 cents.
So they had 15-cent hamburgers.
Oh,
They had 15-cent hamburgers. And what they did was, and these guys kind of revolutionized the food industry, what they did was they made it fast, right? Now, not so much this McDonald's here, but as a whole, they made it fast. Nobody was doing this before. They streamlined the process, and they could get you a burger in 30 seconds. Right? And what they did was, in case you're interested at all, if you ever want to start a business, what they did was they got really good at one thing. You guessed it.
Hamburger.
Hamburgers. So they got really good. They got really good at hamburgers, right? So they made these. They made a lot of money, and then they caught the attention of a guy, and this is what he started doing, right? A little closer to what we recognize. Now, it's not quite what we recognize, but the goal was they made the golden arches in an effort to stand out from the crowd, right? And he started putting these up all over the country. He would build these Mickey D's, and he partnered with these guys at first. Well, the movie's kind of long, and the whole situation takes a long time, but ultimately what he did is he realized that there was a way that he could just kind of take it. It's essentially what he did. So these 2 men, these 2 farmers, invented McDonald's. They did all this stuff really well. And this guy comes along, a salesman, convinces them to take part, or convinces them to let him take part, and eventually he just kind of took it from him, right? Now he's a multi-billion, well, he's dead now, but his family's worth multi-billions. It's all over the country and whatnot. And this was the man, Ray Kroc.
Wait, I thought you said his name was McDonald.
No, not the guy I stole it from. Ray Kroc stole it. Well, Ray Kroc stole it from the McDonald's. Sorry. I shouldn't be.
Got that.
Two guys wanted it, one guy.
Ray Kroc goes to the McDonald's in San Bernardino, California, and he steals, not their idea, he steals their store. He convinces them to partner with them, and then through a long process of things, realizes how he can actually just take this from them, and he did. But in the process of this, what was kind of interesting, in the process of this, is he really hurts everybody. Everybody. He hurts these 2 men. This is their whole life, this little shop, right? He hurts his wife. He ends up divorcing his wife. He doesn't give her anything. He ends up hurting a lot of men in the process, right? All in this glorious effort, to just take money, to take their money. What? Super rich, right? And so that's it. And that's all he did was, his goal was to make as much money as possible. And they showed a scene of him with a divorce lawyer for his wife. And he basically said, I'll give her anything she wants. And they said, well, what about a piece of the business? He said, no way. Right? So his sole goal was money. I thought it was interesting as we start this Live series. about a man whose life made a lot of money but hurt so many people in the process. So here's a question. If you could have anything you wanted, what would it be?
I want to buy Chick-fil-A.
You want to buy Chick-fil-A.
No, she just wants one.
You know what? No, I just want to own one franchise. That's it. Infinite wishes.
I feel like that's actually feasible.
Oh, well, not right now because I don't have the money, but I'm going to get the money and I'm going to have my own franchise. Yeah, man.
I knew Candace's dream car was a Peachy Cruiser. Felt like that was really feasible. It didn't have to be a dream. All right. Oh boy. I'm sorry.
It's an old car, little hatchback car.
What else? Anything? What would you have if you could have anything you wanted?
A horse.
A horse.
Really? Yes. Be a horse.
I don't know.
A jetpack with infinite fuel.
Infinite horse. I mean, infinite wishes. So you can get everything.
Well, then we.
Well, this is kind of the point of this.
To go to Alabama.
To go to Alabama, the university.
We're going.
Exactly.
You guys really want like feasible things. I want to go to Alabama.
Oh, wait, you want something that's like not even.
What? You want what?
To be well set up for life, not have to work for much, but still get to like do a job. Like
So you want to work?
we get to pick the job, but we don't have to worry about salary.
What?
I feel like that's also
I
feasible.
gotta buy us some job.
Yes.
I would like to travel everywhere for free.
Everywhere for free. Now we're gonna tell you. Yes, Reagan.
It's weird, but I'm gonna go to space without like this rocket ship.
What?
I want to be able to like snap my fingers and go. I don't like.
Yes.
You never have to take a tax truck.
You're thinking about taxes?
Oh, wait,
Yes.
I know something that's completely like not feasible. I want to be president.
That's feasible.
Hey,
What would you be willing to trade for that?
oh,
Emma
She forgot her speech again.
she conveniently forgot it.
She's already president. How much would you be willing to trade for that? Nothing? So you have these huge things you want, you have this infinite amount of stuff you want, you think, I wouldn't actually trade anything for it.
Something
He
to
said-
Actually, I tried all my money.
Is what?
I would trade.
Your phone?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have a phone for the rest of your life, you got to do what?
Josh.
Oh,
Computer.
own a sports franchise.
I would know.
I mean, and then Elizabeth.
So this question is really useless. Because then you guys don't even want to trade away anything, but would you trade eternity away?
What do you mean?
Huh?
What do you mean?
Trade away eternity.
Britain. I'll trade with that.
Don't trade away Britain.
It depends.
It's not even yours to have.
South America.
I'll trade like North Korea.
Alright, so here's what we're going to do. Kaylin has made some stuff for you. I need 3 people. I need 3 volunteers.
I don't
Wait,
know.
I'm scared.
What if there's both of
I
us?
just started.
You guys do the movie?
Okay, there's literally. Oh, I know what this is.
Elizabeth. Ashley.
Lacking trust.
There's literally about one up here. Oh, that works. You know, we should let the newbies.
We have caramel covered apples. Come this way. Yeah, come this way, come this way. Guys, come this way. Just don't step.
I don't trust this.
Huh?
Mr. J, your phone's over here.
You want to live it? Oh.
Good luck. Go Foster's and send North Korea.
Alright, you take a big bite. Hey, come on.
Bite it.
I'm sorry.
Bite it.
I'm not taking a bite out of mine because I know what it is.
I'll bite it.
What do you,
Don't do it.
It's not what you think it. I know what you think.
What do you think it
It's not
is?
Take a
that.
bite.
You want to smell it?
I promise you.
You want to wait? You
Oh
want
no, I see it. I
I'll
see
buy
it.
it, Bill.
No, what have you done?
Bella.
I can see it.
That's not trade for you.
Yeah. Oh, Miller just go right in.
Miller.
I mean, there's karma.
Can I have a camera?
You're not gonna buy the man.
You gonna look?
Miller
I
buys it.
Take it. Is it an apple?
I'll bite it.
How old are you? Is
I
that-
know what color it is.
You gonna come buy it?
We know what.
I'll bite it.
We know what it is.
I'll bite it.
Do you know
What?
what it is?
Meredith, you like that one?
No.
A union. Yeah.
I'll bite it.
Go bite it.
I'm good.
I'll bite
Go
it.
sit.
Yeah.
You wanna bite it? You wanna bite it?
I'm leaving the trash can first, okay?
I
So I gotta spit it out.
so you might want to call this one.
guy.
Dave.
What?
A real
That's a real one.
That's not
Oh, yeah.
That's another onion.
Like a.
Okay.
Sorry,
sorry.
but that was
There you go.
apple. I don't like apples.
I don't
like
I don't
apples.
trust it.
So does the onion ruin the caramel?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the onion ruins the caramel. Is the caramel sweet enough to remove the smell, remove the taste, remove anything from it?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Hey, you have real special breath for this today. Here's the problem though. Here's the problem though. Some of you guys are willing to trade the caramel for an onion. You're willing to have caramel covered onions. You're willing to take just a little coating of caramel that's sweet and that tastes good, and you're willing to have an onion after that. But what we see is the caramel doesn't actually cover the taste, does it? It doesn't cover the smell. And we see this. Go ahead and open your Bibles to Mark 8. Mark 8:34. Take your time, hurry up. We got to do 8 minutes.
Wait.
If you have a gold Bible, tell me a page number. 557, gold Bible. 556.
7.
Mark 8, you said?
What?
Yep.
Excuse me.
Oh, it's 557.
All right, here we go. And calling the crowd to him with his disciples, he said to them, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? For what can a man give in return for his soul? Does that make sense? It's a really powerful verse. What he's saying is, what is worth the human soul? And the answer to the question is really a rhetorical question. The answer to the question is nothing. Right? Even if you gain the whole world, could you imagine if you had the whole world, all the money in the world, all the power in the world, you were in control of everything, you had all that. He's saying even that is not worth your soul. Right? I looked up some of the average life expectancies. How long do you think the average life expectancy is in America?
80.
30.
79. 79.3 to be exact.
I know.
America's number 31. America's number 31. Japan is number 1 with 83.7. Canada's number 12 with 82.2. And the last country, I wouldn't have you guess, but we'll be here for the next 5 years because you guys don't even know it, is Swaziland. It's a real country. Number 201 at 49 years.
Oh my goodness. That's so sad.
Did you not see around me? Is that why you look back?
I know someone older than it. But they're on 95.
So do you know someone that's older than you?
Older than the.
Verse 34 and 35 is talking about giving up your life to what? You give up your life to do what? Huh? No.
For the sake of the gospel.
For the sake of the gospel. You give up your life to save it. You give up your life to save your life. You give up your life to save your life for eternity. Does that make sense? The problem is we have to die to ourselves. 1 John 2:15 kind of sums this up pretty well. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires, the flesh, desires, the eyes, and the pride of life, is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever. He's basically summing up here, you can't love both. You can't want all the stuff in the world and have Christ. You can't spend your whole life trying to earn this huge fortune, trying to succeed, trying to gain the whole world, and have Christ. And the problem is, what people are doing is they're walking around taking caramel-covered onions for the caramel. The onion ruins the caramel. Does that make sense? The onion's the more important part, isn't it? The apple's the more important part. Because you can't just cover anything in caramel and it'd be edible.
You can't cover
You guys are walking around, and some of you guys are walking around acting like, and you're taking the caramel off the covered onions, and you're saying, this is good enough, this is all I want. But what you don't realize is the onion's going to ruin that. Because the opposite of gaining your soul, the opposite of living in heaven with Christ, is hell. For eternity. And you can't walk around acting like the caramel is going to somehow make that better, and make that sweet, and make that worthwhile, and make that tasty. 79 years is not a long time when compared to eternity, is it? And so that's my encouragement to you as we start this. You have to understand, first off, our souls live forever, and the choice is yours. You can choose to accept Christ, and you can choose to live with Him forever, or you can choose not to. That choice is 100% yours. I can't make that for you. But I can guarantee you this, if you think you're going to trade caramel, if you think you're going to coat the 79 years in caramel and make the onion taste good, boy, you're wrong. It's not worth it. It's not worth what's coming. It makes it unedible. And what he's saying here is even if you had the entire world, even if you had everything the world had to offer, even if you had all the money in the world, even if you had all this, you could not buy back your soul. Your soul is worth more than that. Eternity is worth more than that. Your soul is worth more than the whole earth because it lives for eternity. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Word.
Woo!